Yes, good morning.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's
Morning,
just Saturday
Betty.
morning where you are, is that right?
Yeah, it's quite fresh, but it's going to be warm later during the daytime.
Yeah,
I hope it doesn't get as hot as it is here, 34 degrees centigrade today.
Oh yeah, in Hong Kong?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, perhaps the next few days we are going to have this temperature.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hello, Gabby.
Hello,
Hi,
Abby.
Shanti.
Good morning.
Hello, Leanne. Hi, Nina.
Morning, Chanti.
Good morning, Sita, everyone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
Sawasdee ka, Jan.
Shall we start?
Sanachan.
Yes. Nina was mentioning that she had had a fall, and yes, many of our Dharma friends have had health issues and surgeries and so on. And we discussed last week that anything can happen by conditions. We think about the story of the fall or the surgery or the hospital, but just different dharmas arising and falling away by conditions. Do you have anything else you would like to add or bring up, Nina?
Yes, I have. Some time ago, I listened to what sati is, and to be wholesome no matter in what situation. I like that as a reminder that it doesn't matter where we are. There can be sati, it is aware. And then it was stressed much by Ajahn that it is not just the words that this is Nama, but that it's the characteristic that is to be known, and that we just give it a name. And at the moment of like, it is always I like. But I find that when we like something, we usually think of the things we find pleasant and not so much of the citta, which likes, the citta which is not self. And we don't realize really that we have the view of I like. So I appreciate it very much to be reminded by Ajahn time and again that it is to be the characteristic, not the word.
So no matter when there is the understanding of the truth that what is now appearing is conditioned just to be there. When it's not there, it's gone, never to arise again, ultimately, completely. This is a way to have more confidence enrooted little by little. And that is the way for right understanding of whatever now appearing can be there by conditions. Otherwise, no condition to understand the absolute truth of what is there. That's why now we talk about what is there in order to forget the other thing that we are interested in life at moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. So it's time to have more understanding, to condition the firm confidence of the truth. And at that moment, no one, it's the function of right understanding to develop little by little, to condition moment of understanding what is there. As we have talked about, not just in this life, there has to be more about learning about it by different means, reading, discussion, and thinking, considering, and so on. the way it is. That's all. But have confidence of the truth. Actually, what is there is blinded by ignorance, not seeing the arising and falling away of different realities by different conditions. And in truth, only once in samsara is now appearing, never to arise again. And sanya, remembering, marks and remembers as long as there are conditions to have right sanya or wrong sanya of what is there as things or nothing, only that which is experienced through one doorway at a time. And this is life. Keep on experiencing our reality from moment to moment with or without understanding, attachment or aversion depending on conditions. Just not to forget the truth of this moment. When there's more hearing, considering, there are conditions to think about it more than before, little by little. So the most important thing is to understand the truth, that's all. Because the truth is this moment and it's covered up by no time to think, to consider the truth of it, when there's no more hearing, considering about the truth. And what is more in a day? Thinking about other things, or talking, understanding what is there as it's there by conditions already there. No one can make it arise and it has fallen away unknowingly. And this is the truth of life. Just there and then gone. New one again and again and again, non-stop by conditions. But there are only 6 doorways for anything to appear. That's why it can be studied to understand each different doorway, as it cannot be together as something. Just to hear it again and again and again, not to forget about the truth. That's all. Without this moment, how can there be condition to consider what is there, no matter what? Anger, attachment, sound, of taste or smell, whatever in life shows up, but not to the understanding yet. But it's there so short that it can be known that it's not there anymore, even right now. Can there be other way to understand it without talking about it, to condition moment of considering what is there now? By conditions, not at will. And whatever is there in life is so true, depending on it is known as it is or not at all. As the truth is there now, it can be object of talking, understanding, thinking, considering. Have more confidence of the nature of that which appears as it is.
Ajahn, I think it's so difficult to explain to others the notion of I see, I understand, I, since it is usually the object which is experienced, people pay attention to, but that notion of I who is experiencing, it's so subtle and not so easy to explain that.
But the truth is there. For example, what is seen, see, a reality, and it can only be seen It cannot be heard. It cannot be touched, but it can be seen right now and then gone when there's no more moment of seeing. When there's no seeing, how can it be the object? When there's seeing, what else can be the object of experiencing? And no one can make anything arise at all. Seeing is there already. Thinking about it is there already. But learn to understand each different doorways, different reality. No matter what is there, it has its characteristic to be known as it is only that. For example, smell, see, it's there. By conditions already there. And it's gone, unknowingly taking it for something permanent. But in truth, it's only thinking after seeing, after hearing, after smelling, tasting, touching. Thinking about that which is experienced. Comparing to ignorance and understanding, quite different, far away from one another. Now, what is seen, ignorance is there. When there's no understanding of the truth of that which sees, that which sees cannot be other thing else. It can be just that which sees. Who can change it? Who can make it permanent? So just listen and understand the truth, that's all. That's the way to let go the idea of self, the clinging to what is there as something. Actually, nothing at all, because it's conditioned to arise and then falls away instantly. Keep on having more confidence of the truth. That is Satya Parami. It's so very subtle, but the truth is there. So it can be known one day when there is letting go of thinking about the other thing, no matter about that which appears or about the other story. But the truth cannot be changed when it's there as the object of seeing. It's there, only that. And then there is thinking about other things. But at moment of seeing, it's there again to be seen, only that which is seen. To understand that reality cannot be changed. Each one is ultimate truth. That's all. Have more confidence. Satya Barami and Adidana Barami, on and on and on. That is the way to let go the idea of something or I. Viriya Barami, Kanti Barami, Satya Barami. Otherwise, it's impossible to consider the truth of it right now. It's there. So how can there be considering about other things to be known when it's not there as what is there now? Great patience and viriya to understand the satya of whatever is there. Understand what Buddha said, that's all. Because he thought about the truth of no matter what is there. At any time, in any world.
Nina, I think the Ajahn last words of understanding the truth of whatever is there is a useful reminder, because if the I, for example, doesn't appear, then it could not be the object of understanding, but there'll be something appearing, whether it's the, as you say, the object of the liking or something else. Any reality can be better understood, can be the object of understanding. And it's not that we have to look for the I, even though the I is perhaps lurking there all the time in some form or other, but it will often be there as asava, so not appearing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, okay, other things are appearing, they can be understood. And it doesn't matter what the order is or what gets understood more first, anything like that.
And when thinking about the I, the thinking is what's appearing.
Yes.
Yes, because the seeing now, everyone can agree there is seeing, but when it's the idea that I am seeing, what is this I that seems to be seeing? Can this I be seen? Can it be heard? Can it be smelt, tasted, touched? No, it can only be thought about. So actually the seeing itself is the reality which arises by conditions and falls away instantly. No I to be found anywhere at all, except as an object in one's imagination only.
Sarah, this eyes, sometimes this thinking, this is also vitaka. Vitaka is another form of thinking.
Well, for now, we can just say that it is when the object of thinking through the mind door. So thinking can think about any kind of concept or any kind of reality. And vitaka is there at each moment with that thinking, with the citta that thinks about the object. Because we know that vitaka arises with every citta except for seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. We're not talking about jhanas now. Now in daily life, there's vitaka at almost every moment. So to understand that actually it is just seeing which sees, we can appreciate that if there is no thinking about I, no I is there at all. Like now, when reflecting on Dhamma, like the visible object that is seen, or the seeing which is seen, if there's no thought about I, no I at all. So it's just the idea that is thought about.
Just to clarify, Sita, when we talk about thinking here, say thinking about yesterday or thinking about tomorrow or thinking about what I had for lunch, that we're referring to consciousness, because it's consciousness that thinks. And the fact that there's a mental factor with the same name, thinking, vitaka, we shouldn't get confused about that. But when we talk about the act, the mental act of thinking, we're talking about consciousness, citta.
Yeah.
And the other point, Nina, I think, is that people, when they hear that seeing sees visible object or hearing hears sound, and it seems obvious or it seems that it's understood, but still what is heard is taken for something. What is seen is taken for something. And this is also the idea of atta. We don't call the sound that is heard or the visible object that's seen I, but it's something. So it's still the idea of atta behind it, no matter we call it I or something that is experienced.
Yeah, that's clear, yeah.
Sarah, can we call a table a vain imagining? Because I think I've heard the word vain imagining in the suttas. I can't remember where, but I guess it is taking it for self, isn't it?
Taking it for something, for atta. Usually we don't say taking the table for self, but it's taken for atta. This is self is actually a translation of atta. So it's taken for something. What is experienced is just the hardness. No table in reality at all, but the hardness is taken for something.
And that's an aspect of clinging to self.
Yes.
So
Clinging
the
to
original question,
utter ditty.
can we call it a vain imagining, the table?
Call it anything you like, but the point is to understand that it's an idea, because in truth there is no table at all.
Right.
Just hardness that is touched, or heat or cold at this moment. So the point is to understand what appears right now, however it's called.
Thank you.
In a sense, you could say it's vain, Alan, because we are attributing to other things how we perceive ourselves. So it's projecting ourselves onto what is being experienced.
Yes.
So it's a kind of vanity in that respect.
Yes. Yes, I can see that.
Everything else must be like we perceive ourselves to be.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
And when it's taken for something, the clinging is there unknown, the clinging with that idea, that impression. So it is clinging, it is a kind of loba. And we discussed last time how they can be clinging to anything in life.
And I think that there's a sutra about a dog tied to a stake, isn't there? About wherever he goes, he's always very close to that stake. And I think that's the kind of meaning here as well, isn't it? That each moment is taken for self. It's there all the time, unknowingly.
And without the development of understanding, impossible to get free from the stake, because the clinging and the wrong view and the ignorance are there almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The very end of the discussion last time, I've got a note here that there was a bit of discussion about fear and how there can be clinging to the story of fear, clinging to the idea of my fear. And some people were surprised. How could there be clinging to something that is so unpleasant, like fear, or for example, when there is anger? But there can be clinging to the story, clinging to the idea that I'm afraid, or I'm angry, or I had a bad fall, or I had this or that disturbance. So it's the nature of clinging to stick and condition the thinking again and again about the story that one's afraid of, or the accident one had. So one doesn't realize that the clinging and the idea of I is there behind the thinking on and on about the story, not understanding the reality now. The clinging doesn't let go at all. So the clinging and the ignorance is the opposite of when there is understanding. When there is understanding, there is letting go of the object, letting go of what is clung to. But when there is clinging and ignorance, and especially when there's wrong view, it doesn't let go. It's like a dog that just keeps biting away again and again at the flesh, not letting go at all. Anything else on that topic you wish to bring up, Nina, or anything else?
Yes, the example of fear is very good because many people have fear of death, and it is a story, and not letting go of the story. So being so overwhelmed, even we hear it's only a story, but still we can't let go of that. It's from accumulated for so long.
We think that there's just a lot of fear, but there's a lot of clinging too, like you say, not letting go, thinking again and again about the object, becoming more and more obsessed by it. And this is the clinging, and behind it, the idea of I, what will happen to me? What about my personality? What will death bring? So it's a long, long story of I, that there is a lot of clinging to, that conditions more and more fear, because it's like thinking again and again about a horror movie that one can't let go of.
It's true, yeah.
I thought it was a good point that Ajahn made last time or the time before, that if thinking about death just conditions more fear, well then let it go, think about something else. But of course it depends on conditions, what is the object of thinking. But it's good to appreciate there is the clinging that doesn't let go. Good to know what the truth is, and to know that it's not my thinking, my clinging, my fear, just dhammas that arise and fall away all the time. At the moment of seeing now, or the moment of hearing now, no thinking, no clinging, no fear at all. So when the clinging arises, it's just for a moment, not my clinging. And the same with the fear, all gone, never to arise again.
And as long as there is not enough understanding of the truth, as no one at that moment of fear, is there any clinging? Clinging clings to everything except the Intl.Dhamma. So at that very moment when fear is there any kind of clinging? As long as it's not known as, it's just a reality, like seeing, no understanding, so I see. And when fear is there, no understanding of fear as just a reality, it's my fear. Cling to that as mine. As I see, I fear. That's why the truth is there to be known. Otherwise, there cannot be letting go of the idea of self or thing at all. For example, just say that or think that, see, it's not me. It's not anyone. It's a reality. But as long as there is no more understanding of the truth of whatever is there, which is unknown yet. For example, at moment of seeing, what are there? Not just the seeing. See, when we talk about feeling, talking about memory, talking about manasikara or attention to the characteristic, or samadhi, ekakata citasika, they are there. They do not appear, they are not known. And at that moment, it's the panyati of the reality which experience the object, but different ones. Seeing itself is not phassa, it's not sanya. And sanya is there and phassa is there, but it does not appear as the object. So what is known as I see is only the reality which performs the function of seeing, not perform the other function at all. But the other function are there of whatever are there as not only one reality, citta and citasikas. That's why learn to understand more about the truth of this moment. They are only nimitta of everything. The truth is so very subtle. That's why the teachings of the Buddha is so very subtle, or Dhammas are subtle. If we forget this point, we think that we understand this and that, but actually, as long as it's not the direct understanding of the truth, little by little, one is in darkness, no understanding of the truth of what is there, because no understanding of just one reality when it's there as it is. That's why learn to understand that when there is thinking, when there is feeling, when there is memory, they are all dhammas, but they do not appear. So they are nimitta of the reality which experiences an object at a time, arising together, fall away together, but different ones. Until what are there, or what is there at a time, by nimitta, to be known as it is, little by little. To go deep down to the truth that whatever is there now, it's not there. It has arisen and fallen away in succession. What appears is only nimitta of everything. And this is the understanding of how much ignorance each moment accumulated, and not only in the past, but right now too. That's why right understanding is developing against the current of ignorance and attachment. But the truth is the truth. So a little more understanding of the truth, only that moment, letting go the idea of self or thing, little by little, stage by stage. So now is the confidence of the truth that in truth, nothing appears as it is. What appears is only nimitta, to be learned, to be known little by little about each different ones. No matter it's like, dislike, it experiences an object. So the characteristic which arises and experiences the object does not appear yet, but it is known that it's not self. It is conditioned to arise and fall away. And little more, consider more, there can be conditioned to let go the strong accumulation of the idea of self, to have a little more firm confidence of the truth. That is parami. Without parami, it's impossible to discern the subtlety of what is there now, arising and falling away by nimitta. So understanding what is meant by ignorance and right understanding, different stages, different degrees. That's why even pariyatti has to be so very firm confidence of the truth. What is there appearing? Only that can be learned to understand the nature of it, the truth of it, different from the others, and only once in samsara. The same category, but not the same single entity. And the understanding of this, developing the letting go little by little. So very, very subtle. Until the object begins to appear as it is, little by little. Like hardness now. Before hearing about it, we don't think about it as it's that should be known. It has to be known. Otherwise, it's still something touched. like other doorway. So very natural in daily life. Anything, anytime. Understanding little by little. When there are enough conditions to be aware of that. So there can be the understanding of the difference between what is meant by direct awareness with understanding that it's that which is there that can be known because it's there as a reality, a characteristic. No matter what, it's that which is known and then gone.
Alberto, the other day I had the idea you wished to bring up something on nimitta because I saw you had some papers and I thought you were about to speak, and then someone else asked a question and the chance was gone. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up on the topic?
I'm not sure remember the topic. But I have another question regarding concept and the concept and as Aramana Pachaya and also as Adipati Aramana Adipati Pachaya, and also I think also as well, I try to leave the Pali out, so I just say, is it concept are just the object of thinking, and so there can also be there are also Aramana Pachaya, and are they also Pakatupanisaya Pachaya, which means habitual tendency to think to that object as maybe as even as when we think of a table of of a chair, and that's the concept. And that can it be Pakatupanisaya Pachaya for Chitta Chitajika as object? I'm not sure if my question is clear.
Ajahn, could you follow his question?
About
I think
yeah.
he was talking about, and I just explain a little bit briefly for other people, he was talking about concept, any concept like table or chair. It can be aramana pachya, that means the object of thinking, like now thinking about chair, table, it's the aramana, the object. He also asked whether it can be the aramana adipati pachya. In other words, can it be the object that is highly desired? For example, if there is a lot of desire or attachment for mangoes, dreaming about the taste, dreaming about the smell of mangoes, it is the object that is very desirable and the object of clinging, strong clinging. And he also asked about concept as Pakatu Upanisya Pachya, because the habit now, the habit of liking a particular object or disliking of understanding now is conditioned by Pakatu Upanisya Pachya. It conditions the accumulation or the habit. But my understanding is that it's any reality at all can be the Pakatu Upanisya Pachya for the Chitta and Cetasika arising now, like the sound in the past, or the ignorance in the past, or the kindness in the past, or the taste of mangoes. Anything can be the object, but perhaps you can help with a little more detail, Ajahn, for him. Thank you.
If we don't talk in Pali term, can we understand what is going on in a day? And after understanding the condition for such happenings, there can be the understanding what is meant by Aramanupanisya Pachya. I think that you are interested in learning Chinese, Kun Sarah, right?
I speak a little Cantonese, yes. But
yes, but if you have more time for that in a day, it conditions moment of thinking about the word, right?
That's right.
And depending on Prakatupa Nisya, because it is the aramana that you like to speak or like to understand in a day, like to hear more and so on. So it depends on what is there in the day that can condition moment of thinking about it. And when it's strong enough, it can become the habit. You might speak in Chinese sometimes between the English and so on. It depends on conditions. But I can't, no interest, I have no accumulation to learn language and so on. So it's not my habit to follow when one talks about it and so on. So very, very difficult for me to understand the tones, the different ones, the pitch and so on. See, so all depends on Pakatu Panisya Pachya. It can condition such moment, thinking in terms of language or whatever in habits, like habits, to do so. And so we use the term Pakatu Panisya Pachya or Aramanu Panisya Pachya because it's the aramana that condition moment of thinking again about it, no matter how much frequent to think it sometimes in a day, or today more times to think about that when you learn and read a lot about the language, that it is the condition moment of thinking about it by conditions. If that is not enough, it cannot condition moment of thinking about the word in other language.
Ajahn, the concept of Chinese language can be Aramana Pachaya, but the concept.
It too.
I didn't hear you, Ajahn. Can you say again?
Whatever Loka likes, it is Aramana Tipati when it's correct enough, strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
Not to leave it, just continue on more and more interest.
This I understand, but what about Pakatupa Nisya Pachaya? Doesn't how can a concept be Pakatupa Nisya Pachaya? Can concept be Pakatupa Nisya Pachaya?
When you think, what do you think? In words? Or think about the shape and form in a day?
Anything it thinks about concepts.
Includes concept.
Right. But the thinking with attachment, all these dhammas are the Pakatu Panisya Pachayas. The concept itself is Pakatu Panisya Pachaya. I don't understand that.
It depends on character. For example, you have the character to understand, or you have character to just remember the word, the meaning, Pali, study, and so on. And what about the meaning, the truth, the nature of that, which is used in Pali for that term? For some people, they would like to recite the Pali term, like what you call it, Suat Mon and so on. just recite the words in Pali, no understanding. That is Prakatu Panisya Pachaya, to recite the Pali. But now, when there is the understanding, no more interest in reciting the Pali, but understand each word which is recited. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Not as Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. No understanding of each one, each word.
So you mean the same concept at one moment can be object of clinging, at another time can be object of understanding?
Clinging can cling to anything except the Lokuttara Dhammas.
I mean, what I mean is that, for example, Pali can be, before hearing the Dhamma, the object of clinging, but after some understanding, Pali can be, by Pakatu Panisya Pachaya, a condition for understanding. Is that how it is?
Do you recite the Pali words in a day? Morning and night, before going to bed and so on? Or just hearing the word and not understand the deep meaning of that word yet? While there can be more time to learn to understand the truth. So it depends on you just want to recite, clinging to that word, and you can say Pali or speak Pali because you like it that way. To say any word that you like. In Thai, they have some words that people just talk about that word. You or use that word, but I do not follow. And the other, depending on conditions. But when someone is thinking, what do they think? In words, right? All the time. When it's not thinking of that which appears as the characteristic of that object. For example, now, at moment of seeing a doll, see, there is the idea about that. No word. But there can be the word about it too. Just talk about that.
So I think, Sukim, it's not just the word, the Pali term or the Chinese character, but it's the thinking about that word or the reciting about that word that is the condition by Paktu Upanisya Pachya for the interest and the habit, the liking or the thinking again and again about that word or that meaning. Because just the word on itself, like table on itself, without any experience cannot be conditioned for anything except as aramana, for thinking about it.
That's why. What does thinking think about? See, it can be without word or in words.
And that is the Pakatu Upanisya Pachya, regardless of whether it's thinking in or without words, but the thinking of that idea, that is the condition for the Chitta and Chaitasika by Pakatu Upanisya Pachya. So the thinking is the reality.
That's what I'm asking about. The thinking is Pakatu Panisya Pachaya. But what about the concept? We sometimes say the concept itself is Pachaya by way of Pakatu Panisya Pachaya.
It has to be the thinking about that word or that meaning or that concept.
So it's not the concept itself. The concept can only be Aramana Pachaya or Aramana Tipati Pachaya, right?
Right. Without thinking about it, it cannot be the condition by Pakatu Upanisya Pachya. There has to be the thinking about it, no matter in words or not in words, to be the condition. Like the Pali term, sada. If there's no thinking about it, it cannot be a condition for thinking about sada now.
I know that Pali word is not my Pakatupanisya Pachya or Aramanati Patipachya. I just would like to understand the characteristic or the truth of it. But I don't mind about that Pali, many words to recite or to explain.
It's because you appreciate that the truth is the reality, whatever it's called. It's not about the Pali term, it's not about the accent, it's not about the pronunciation. It's just about the understanding of what is true, what can be known right now. So it depends on the interest, what is conditioned.
And the reality, no words, just reality.
Alberto, do you have any comments or follow-up? Because this was from your questions.
Yeah, I remember that Pakatupanisya Pachaya is a very wide condition which includes almost all the other conditions. So I wouldn't be surprised if it includes also Ramana Pachaya as well as but I don't know, I'm just guessing, so don't take my word for it.
For example, in the Patana, it mentions weather or climate. But what is weather or climate? So one has to consider what the truth is, what the reality is when it mentions weather or climate. Because if there's no touching of heat or cold, then how can it be a condition? The heat or the cold can be a condition, and the experiencing of it can be a condition. So it still comes back to the reality. The temperature now is a condition for chitta at this moment, for example.
And what about when dreaming about touching something hot or whatever, when there is actually no touching, there is the concept of something hot or something cold, or there is no touching. How would you explain that object, that concept?
So there is the experiencing of the fantasy. Say there might be the experiencing of the fantasy about the hot animal flying through the sky. Actually, there's no hot animal flying through the sky, but there's a fantasy about it. There's thinking about it. And that thinking about that dream or that fantasy conditions more thinking about it. So even when one's woken up, one is awake and one knows it was just a dream, there can be thinking again and again by Pakatupanisya Pachya, by this condition. It becomes a habit to think about that object, even though there is no flying animal at all, no hot animal, but just thinking about the dream again and again. So it's the thinking about it that conditions the thinking about it again, and about that particular object that conditions the thinking about that object again and again.
Right.
But the object itself is not real. So it's just the object of thinking. So there's no flying animal to condition anything. So it's the thinking about it that conditions the habit.
And you can see that if there's attachment to something, you'll think about it. And if you're not interested, you're not attached, you won't think about it.
Yeah, I think two different conditions, like Aramana Upanisaya Pachaya and Akatu Upanisaya Pachaya. if you're interested in an object, that would be Paramanu Panisaya Pachaya. I think we are getting lost in Pali word. But yeah, I think I got your point. Yeah, thank you.
Both. That the interest now, like the interest in the story about fear of death, for example, it can be conditioned in both these ways. It becomes a habit because of thinking about that particular object again and again. So in both these ways. So we can see how habitual the thinking is, conditioned by the thinking in the past. And that's why we have the discussion. So the reflection on the different realities, what is heard now, sound now, no one there, nothing there, that is heard, gone instantly. The considering wisely is a condition for more wise reflection, for beginning to understand what the truth is at this moment, without needing to use any Pali terms at all. But it is a habit right now.
Maybe Ajahn can talk a little bit, explain more about Pakatupanisaya Pachaya, because I think there is some confusion. I mean, I'm not very clear at all to me. So, because it's such a wide condition, it's not easy to like pinpoint the realities and the Pachaya and the Pachayupana and the conditioned and the conditioned Dhamma. I don't know, Ajahn, if you can explain more about this very important condition.
We can't hear you, Ajahn.
I forgot to turn on. Can we say that it's just the conditions for habit, includes everything, not only once, again and again, until it becomes habit. So Pakatu Panisya Pachaya is conditions for habit. So what is one doing right now? Habits to do. And the conditions for such habit is Pakatu Panisya Pachaya. Pachaya is the condition for habit.
Yeah, that's the word pakata, pakati means habit here. Right? And upa means strong, right, Ajahn?
Yes, not once, many times. Strong enough to condition habits.
Usually, Ajahn, when we talk about habits, we talk about the kusala and akusala now, like the liking for particular objects, the understanding now, the fear of this and that. These are all the habits that have been accumulated in this way by Pakatu Upanisya Pachaya. But we know that actually every chitta and cetasika is conditioned by Pakatu Upanisya Pachaya. So even at moments of seeing and hearing, it's also conditioned by Pakatu Upanisya Pachaya, but we don't think of them as habits because they're vipaka chittas.
And it's not just this life. Many lives before accumulated little by little different habits depending on the birth, whether one was born a bird or a worm, it has its habit too. And
That's
if
a
one
good way
was
to
born
put it.
a worm for many, many lives, the habits of worm can appear in this life too. Like the pig who scratched the earth or the tree by conditions. The habits to do that from what life accumulated so strong.
So even the vipaka, we can say in this way, is a habit, not just the kusala and akusala, that is so strong.
Nothing can arise without conditions. And there are so many different conditions. And people are different by manners, by speech, by so many things, by pakatu panisya. Repeated again and again to become conditioned for such manners. Someone walks very fast, faster than the other. Someone walks very slowly.
Someone speaks gruffly, someone else speaks sweetly. Yes, very, very broad condition, and the results are very, very broad. Many factors involved, but it has to have it be there, having its effect on each chitta in life now. Like even now when speaking and moving one's hand, or like Zita and I fidgeting and moving around, all by Paktu Upanishya Pachya and other conditions. Or nodding one's head, or one can see all the different tendencies and habits. So it's not just the moments of kusala and akusala, but all the different habits in a day.
And I think, Sarah, on your reference to vipaka, I think that's why it's not just the habits that's used, the word upanisya. It's also used, there's also pakatu, means natural. So when you join the two words together, natural, what occurs naturally. So same with vipaka, it occurs naturally, and again and again. It's not a habit, as you say. Habit usually refers to kusala and akusala, but also the word natural makes it clear that it's something that's happened over and over again, and not just repeated. I don't want to use the word repeated, but that. But I think I'm trying to see that the word natural might be the key also to understand this natural.
I think it's why it's helpful to understand what are the dhammas which are the conditioning factor, and what are the dhammas that are conditioned, because when one appreciates that all chittas and cetasikas are conditioned in this way, then one can begin to appreciate it's much broader than just thinking about the kusala and akusala. Like as Ajahn said, even at the moment of birth, being born a bird or a woman or a man, or even at those moments, Paktu Upanishya Pachya is having its effect. Karma can't bring any result without Paktu Upanishya Pachya. So it's, as with every other subject, it's a little deeper than one usually thinks of.
Kunsukin, excuse me. Yeah, in Thai, the word is bhakti. You know, it's like, it's what's common. It's what's done again and again and again. For example, Pali is a Prakrit language. Now, Prakrit literally means that it's spoken by the common people. It was spoken regularly, again and again and again. So Pakati really, which is, so we've got the Pakatu Upanishya, so it's a combination of those two words. There's a joining, so you don't say Pakatu Upanishya, it's all one word. So it's what's done most commonly, what's done habitually, what's done regularly. And we've all, as Jan and Sarah have pointed out, that it's what is what is unique to that person again and again and again. And we all build up different habits. And even habits is quite a good word, because it's what we can use the word in English. A habit is what somebody wears. You know, a habitation is where somebody lives. So it's what's common, what's regular, what's repeated often. And so we get that word Pakati, you know, or Prakrit or whatever. There's a connection between all these different words will help you to understand that it's what's done most commonly, regularly, repeatedly.
It's the way to understand Dhamma, the way it is.
And I think that's the real meaning, Ajahn, of Bhakatu, the way it is. So seeing now is the way it is, hearing now is the way it is, fear now is the way it is. Whatever arises is the way it is. It can't be any other way. Birth as a bird or a woman or a worm, it's the way it is. Or when an accident happens, the pain or the fear, it's just the way it is. And this brings it back to just understanding as different dharmas the way they are. No one there, nothing that can be done to change it. No one can control anything, just the way it is by this condition and other conditions. Like now, some people have interest in understanding more about the realities. Others have no interest. It's just the way it is. Like if someone, following Nina's question, someone has no interest to understand why seeing is a reality and no eye that can see or hear. It's just the way it is. One cannot make anyone else have interest.
And
So
even,
from now on, when someone say Pakatu Upanishya Pachya, that can be the understanding of what does it mean? What's the meaning of Pakatu Upanishya Pachya? The way it is.
It is, yes, right now. Whatever arises now is the way it is, conditioned by Pakatu Upanishya Pachya.
And it's there now to be known for everyone. The way it is right now, no matter one sits or lie down or speak.
sipping tea, or like Ina, or not sipping tea, or fear, or clinging, or whatever it is, whatever arises now, just as it is.
And in between that, for everyone, one person sipping tea, another doing something else. In between that is the Pakatupanisya Pachaya, which is avijja.
The way it is. Like now, when there's no understanding of what appears, or no understanding of the way it is at this moment, avijja is there. That's how it is. Conditioned to. The way it is, living in the world of stories and ideas and nimitta, usually with ignorance, taking the nimitta of people and things, taking it for being what is true and real, not appreciating that they are just different ideas, different stories. But even that thinking, even that taking the nimitta of people and things for being real can be understood. Anything more on those points, Alberto? I can see you're looking at your notes.
I've looked up the one about nimitta. Yeah. In the Pali, I looked up in the Pali that I've looked up. It mentions the inclining towards the after the Mahavipassana Yana. It mentions the inclining towards the animitta, towards nibbana, even before the actual path, the actual Lokuttara path. And he says one word is adimutti. Yeah. I think that's the. I thought that was interesting because even before nibbana is actually experienced, after when panya is developed enough, which means quite developed quite a lot after the vipassana jnana and the understanding. So panya inclines towards nibbana even he hasn't known it yet. I thought that was an interesting point. understanding of the nimitta. So it's like maybe like letting go of the conditioned realities and the inclining towards the unconditioned reality, which is the object of the object of the Lokuttara path.
Is it because having directly understood the arising and falling away of realities, and having understood the fearfulness and danger of what is conditioned, there is the turning away from what is conditioned, the letting go of the clinging to what is conditioned, and the turning towards what is unconditioned, appreciating the danger of whatever is conditioned at this moment, like seeing now, we don't appreciate how fearful or dangerous it is, but it arises to fall away, but it's the object of clinging again and again. So life goes on in samsara. But perhaps Ajahn would have more comments.
Yes, again, what are you talking about?
I think Ajahn Alberto was explaining that in the texts on nimitta that we've been looking at recently, there was reference to the mind inclining towards nibbana. And this appears to be something that happens even before enlightenment, when nibbana is actually experienced. And I've just come across a translation from the reference to the 6th stage of insight, knowledge of terror, Bahayajnana. And it reads like this. It says, when he sees clearly the sign of materiality as terror and sees its fall each time, he applies his knowledge to it because he is resolved upon the signless. This is the signless abiding. So his question or his comment, Alberto's comment was that it was interesting that there's a reference to inclining towards nibbana or being resolved upon the signless before enlightenment has been attained. Thank you. Hope that's clear.
Yeah, I think that it has to be clear for each subject. For example, did he talk about nimitta in the beginning? Is it clear enough to go on, understand? The other moment, after the vipassana or so on. If this point is not clear, how can there be clear understanding of that which hasn't happened yet? Is there any doubt about nimitta or not at all now? So, what is nimitta? Is there nimitta? And what is the nimitta right now? So, and what is the nimitta when it's vipassana? Different from now or what? To think about fear to be born again or to have more cycle of birth and death, on and on. We just talk about that which is not clear yet. That's why now at this moment, whatever is there appearing can appear only by nimitta. It's so very subtle to imagine we live in the world of nimitta, while deep down it's only different realities in split seconds arising and falling away. And what is meant by vipassana is not just developing the understanding of the truth, hearing again, consider again, but not being aware with right understanding of anyone. When we use the term direct awareness, is it direct enough? And can it more direct? And what is meant by direct when it's vipassana jnana and so on? That's why we learn to understand the truth of the world in samsara, how it arises and how it appears. It arises and falls away in split seconds that cannot be known at all, because by way of processes, Buddha taught about one citta at a time. So can there be the direct experiencing of a moment of seeing? Impossible. That's the meaning of beginning to understand the nimitta of whatever is there. So very rapidly, and it has to arise one and after another by way of the truth. Sampatithana cannot arise before seeing and so on. And what appears, because the citta sees, the only one citta which sees, performing the function of seeing, is only known. The citta before and after doesn't appear at all. So what is meant by nimitta? We live in the world of nimitta because there are many moments of citta arising and falling away, unknown all the time. So what appears is only that which appears through the 6 doorways. That's why what is meant by only living in the world of nimitta, of 6 doorways. And even now, the understanding of one doorway is not clear at all. One doorway, I mean, one characteristic of a reality like seeing and hearing, but so many, many processes. So it appears as nimitta only, because seeing now is not hearing. And as much as one knows, they cannot arise together. At moment of seeing, there's no hearing. But does it appear even that as nimitta yet? That's why as now, seeing and hearing does not appear as it is one moment at a time and on and on. And when it is the beginning of direct understanding with awareness, it's not as clear as when it's stronger and stronger with right understanding, which let go. The Pakatupanishya, taking it for things and so on. It takes time. So can it be the moment of fear of the arising and falling away of the world samsara is non-stop, rolling on with ignorance and so on? All depends on understanding little by little as it is. As it doesn't appear as the nimitta arises and falls away. The nimitta, so unseen, unknown moment of the way it is. That's right. How can there be the imagination of, there can be fear of the arising and falling away of life, of samsara? Impossible, because there's not yet understanding what is there now as it is. The moment of direct awareness with a little understanding. It's different from what we are talking about the nimitta of this and that, pakatupanishya of this and that, because the conditions not enough yet to experience the truth which is deeply down, arising and falling away at all. It has to go little by little, letting go on and on and on, very naturally in daily life to understand it. Is there any time now, today, to think of the danger of that it's this moment arising and falling away? Impossible, because panya is not enough. That's why learning to understand the meaning of each word, like nimitta, as not so many nimittas, on and on and on, more and more, layers and layers all the time. So how can there be the moment when it can experience one nimitta of one characteristic of a reality as nimitta, And that is not vipassana jnana yet because it's not clear enough. It's not direct enough to that moment of the nimitta arises and falls away. That's why it's only thinking about what would happen, what would be, but what about now? No one can change the rapidity of the succession of the nimitta of seeing. So the first thing to understand is the nature of the reality which arises to experience, no matter it is clinging or feeling or memory or whatever. They are all the reality which arises just to experience an object. And they are different. In a day, one can see like is not dislike, sweet taste is not sound, and so on. But no understanding, not enough understanding. Even when heard about, it's there by conditions, it's such and such. But right understanding is not the degree that it can let go what is there. From hearing again and again and again, to begin to let go when it's there directly known. And directly is just not as strong or direct as the moment when it appears as vipassana jnana. That's why even the word directly, think about now, seeing is there. And what is meant by direct awareness or having attention to the characteristic which experience now, which sees now, not in word, but the characteristic of that reality is there. That's why it's a matter of understanding and letting go, little by little, the clinging. It does not appear as, oh, today I let go the clinging to such and such, but it is a beginning to understand the world as it is. It has been like this long, long time ago. Nobody can change. What is that? It's conditioned to experience an object. It's a reality. So that is the understanding of what is meant by reality. We see the sun, the moon, the sky, the rain, all are realities, but they are different. One can experience no matter it likes or it dislikes, it remembers or it feels. They are the reality which is conditioned to arise to be such and such characteristic. That's all. Not yet to be fear of the world as the breaking world and so on. It's only thinking with the idea of I think unknowingly. That's why it's not in a hurry at all to understand the truth of this moment, because it has to be parami, to be truthful to the truth, strong enough that one reality cannot be known, cannot be the object as one single entity. Even the seeing right now, so many moments. So begin to understand the difference between seeing and hearing and what other reality are there in life when there are conditions to remember that it's only a reality in the beginning until it's more developed to let go. So it makes way for right understanding to perform its function little by little. Otherwise, the idea of self hinders the right understanding to understand what is there as it is. That's why even how much we imagine or think about what would be at that moment after vipassana jnana, this stage or that stage, it's impossible to realize the moment because it's not as it is like now. This is the world of ignorance. So how can it appear as it is? And when time comes by conditions, no doubt about different levels of understanding, that is not enough because the clinging is still there by conditions to be known, to the object of right understanding, to be keen enough to let go. The clinging to such and such, like the moment when fear is there is clinging to fear as I fear, my fear, and so on. So it takes quite Viriya Parami and Kanti Parami Otherwise, nothing can be let go at all. And let go is not as fast as it can appear as seeing the danger of samsara. Just understand whatever is there by conditions, so very weak in the beginning. But it develops on and on to make way for right understanding to perform its function. Not I try or I'm trying, I'd like to understand this and that. Doubt is pakatu panisya pajaya too. So consider each word of the Buddha, the subtlety, the deep meaning of it. Only one reality appear at a time. What does it mean? Because when they are together, how can it appear clear one by one? But when there is the understanding of this reality, there can be moment of understanding it when it's there. And when there is another reality and they arise to experience an object, no matter what, no need to repeat it. That is Dhamma, that is the moment of experiencing an object, because it's there, depending on understanding, which can let go the idea of I think. And that is meant by samsara, with understanding or without understanding. And understanding paccaya can let go, little by little, the cling to the idea of I can do or I am there on its I or mine. Naturally, by conditions with patience and virya. So natural by conditions, no matter now or next, is conditioned. That's why listen to the teaching of the Buddha, just one word at a time, and understand deeper and deeper one reality, one nimitta, and the nimitta of shape and form as something, and the details of that which is there. With their conditions to think about the details, all by conditions. And understand conditions as no one at all. Seeing is seeing, and at moment of seeing, there are other realities, mental factor arising, but they do not appear, so they are not known. Only that which appears can be known. Until what appears, there can be the understanding of that reality, because we have heard a lot about it, enough to understand that it's not seeing, it's not feeling, and so on, one by one, on and on and on. It's compared to the moment of a paper is painted by paint. Can anyone take the paint out or off or away? It's there. Not one moment, so many, many moments, uncountable moments. So ignorance can be let go only when there is the understanding of what is there as just a reality that can be known. And we learn a little more about it so that it can be known as its nature, as it just see, as it just seen, as it just hear, and it's just heard. That's all in life. This is the way to let go because of understanding the momentary moment arising and falling away very fast. So what is meant by nimitta? the world of nimitta, the world of ignorance, darkness more than any darkness, because it seems it's light, but no understanding of what is there as it is. So the blindness of ignorance cannot understand the truth. The word of the teaching is just the light, which shines just a little bit to understand little by little what is there as nothing, just from nothing to be something and then nothing again. Just cling to nothingness and think that it's there all the time. But in truth, in split seconds, each reality gone instantly. And there is so confidence of the truth that this is life, not permanent. There can be this person only in this life and after death, not this person again. So just live to understand the truth, because the truth is there now. Nothing is as true as moment of seeing, which sees, hearing, which hears. When there is the understanding of nimitta right now, that can be the moment of vipassana, experiencing the nimitta, but clear, not as when it's not clear as now. Clear means the reality, nimitta of the reality, which experiences the object through one of the six doorways, and understand the difference between the six doorways as nimitta.
John, you just mentioned understanding of nimitta. Does that mean, I think you just mentioned, you said when there is understanding of nimitta now, and I was wondering if you meant literally that the nimitta is the object of understanding.
Okay, when we talk about seeing, is that seeing right now?
Yes.
One moment or many moments of seeing?
Many moments.
That is the nimitta of seeing. Unconscious, yes. But it's seeing, the nimitta of seeing. That this is seeing, not other thing, not
right.
other reality. It experiences the object, but through either only.
Right.
So we live in the world of nimitta.
Yes.
And this is the nimitta of our reality, but in the nimitta of many, many realities, not only one reality at all. They're arising and falling away so rapidly from up the shape and form to make known as it is this or that, bird or cat. Ignorance is all around. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of how great wisdom Buddha is. Each word comes from his enlightenment, not just thinking about seeing now, sees many things. So it's not just a moment of seeing and so on. That is only considering thinking, but not the direct experiencing of each reality. Because he has developed parami to understand the truth beyond the other, unthinkable.
But is there a particular level of understanding at which understanding directly knows nimitta, other than what you've just said, of course, which we can appreciate just at an intellectual level? The realities arise and fall away so rapidly. But is there a point at which understanding directly experiences nimitta as nimitta?
You mean patipati or pativeda?
I suppose, yes, something like that.
So now we are talking about seeing, but no direct aware of seeing at all.
Right, right.
Without understanding, it's impossible to understand the reality which sees. That's why it has to have the intellectual understanding so firm, confidence of the truth, and that is the letting go. So it make way for right understanding and direct awareness to arise, to be aware of whatever reality right now, anytime, by conditions. Otherwise, ignorance covers up the truth and cling to that object and think about other thing, about the story of it, but not the characteristic as it sees only that moment. There can never be other moment in that moment of seeing at all. So life exists only in a moment, or a reality is in a moment, and shorter than that. For example, right now, when there is touching some part, like finger, the hardness appear, but who knows? In reality, hardness arises and falls away too. And that is not just intellectual understanding, but understanding that how short it is by way of process. When it appears, only the nimitta of hardness again, as the nimitta of seeing, nimitta of touching. So when it's the nimitta of touching, how can it appear as like now? Hard enough to be known. But in truth, in a moment of touching, what is there? So what is touch is not just a single moment of no matter rupa or nama. And otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of what's meant by enlighten the truth, the absolute truth, now arising and falling away. We heard the word. Now seeing has a reason and falls away. That's so true, because the other moment, hearing is not a seeing, as much as one can think about it, but it does not appear as different ones and only one at a time. So what is meant by one single object appears as nimitta, even as nimitta. And what about only single one as not nimitta? But it has to be nimitta because it cannot be directly object of experiences by only one process. And even one process, Sampaticana does not see, Santirana does not see. But now it seems that there is seeing, only seeing. So it's the nimitta of the citta, the reality which experiences an object one by one, until it is directly aware of a characteristic. It means that there is some understanding of the object as it is the object of awareness. It can be object of awareness with right understanding of that object. And that understanding condition moment of direct awareness by conditions unexpectedly, but it depends on how much understanding of the truth of no matter that which experiences or that which is experienced, even hardness. So the world of nimitta goes around so rapidly while the experiencing of hardness arises and falls away, and just one doorway, one process of hardness arises and falls away too. That's the way to understand the world of nimitta, not just only the nimitta of one reality, But nimitta has many realities together, like the smell of something and taste of that reality, which has such a smell and so on. And this is the word of ignorance. So there can be the understanding of how much ignorance accumulated years and years ago. So hearing only the word about it is the beginning to understand the truth of what is there in life. Otherwise, there cannot be any understanding of the truth, because the nimitta takes it away as something all the time, as I and people and things all the time. So the most precious moment is the understanding of what is there as it is. It cannot be taken for I, so it's wrong understanding with ignorance. Years and years ago, taking it for something, and the experiencing, no one there. So it's I who see, I who hear, I who touch, so on. That's why Buddha pointed out the reality of each reality and the paccaya of conditioned realities too.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Sukhin, I don't know if you're...
Yes, please.
Sukhin, I don't know if you're still there, but I remember in another discussion we were talking about the world of nimitta and the world of concepts, and how, as Ajahn was just saying a short time ago, that when she uses the world of nimitta, it's referring to the world of ignorance and darkness, like now, when there's no understanding, and there's the idea of people and things not appreciating the nimitta of realities. And because of that world of ignorance and darkness, world of nimitta without understanding, it conditions the concepts, the ideas, birds, cats, and so on. So that's why whether we talk about the world of living in the world of nimitta or world of concepts, it's the same, because without those nimitta, there couldn't be those concepts. And it's the opposite of understanding, that actually at this moment, there are just different realities arising and falling away. And there has to be the development of understanding of the nimitta of those realities. And Ajahn, I just wanted to mention behind Alberto's question about the section on understanding the fear and turning away from conditioned realities, I think the reason he was referring to this passage was because it was one of the ones that you suggested we look at, because it refers to the different sankhara nimitta, the nimitta of any conditioned realities. So I think that was why he had an interest in this passage. But of course, it depends on the habit as to which aspect one has an interest in at that time, because the passage just indicated that even when it's very high developed vipassana jnana, still it is the nimitta of different conditioned realities that is the object of insight, not the realities themselves.
So vipassana is just experience what is there now as it is. It means that now, not as it is. When it's not vipassana jnana, because all many realities arising together, condition, shape, and form to make known as is this and that panjati. See, but in truth, actually, what are there in truth? Only a reality arising and falling away instantly. But so many realities arise together, like the rupa, Mahabhuta Rupa, and also the derived rupa too. And even now seeing, there must be cittas before go down deep to the moment of birth, on and on and on and on, and from now on and on, non-stop. That's why without understanding this moment, how can there be the moment, the understanding of the truth of that which appears? What is there? The reality which arises through experience. That's the way it is. No one can change it at all. It's there, and there are conditions there too to condition it. Everything which is real can be known by the enlightened one who taught what he had enlightened for the others to begin to understand the truth. And right understanding, letting go ignorance, little by little, not only in this life. How long it will take to take the paint out of the paper or the cloth that we painted, see? So it takes time to let go the idea of, I would like to understand that. It's there already. It covers up the way, the path, leading to understand what is there, as we have heard. Each reality has its own characteristic. And it's there only when it arises and then gone instantly. Keep the truth in mind on and on and on to getting close to the truth of what is there now. Because what appears now, no matter at any part of the body, it's by condition. There must be the reality which is conditioned to experience hardness or softness that we take from my body, my finger and so on, my hair or whatever, to understand the absolute truth little by little. And understanding only can let go the idea of self, which is so very strong. See, the way it is, ignorance and understanding. Whenever there is ignorance, there cannot be understanding. And when understanding is there, ignorance cannot be there too, because it's different. It's opposite nature. Just understand the way it is. No I who understand, little by little, naturally. So after this time, there can be a moment of thinking about anything, swimming and so on, naturally by conditions, to understand conditions of life, not only this life, no matter what life, long ago and more in the future. All depends on conditions, no one at all. This person in this life, and after this life, no more this person. Like this life is not past life. What was past life, who knows? It's gone. So each moment is gone until the moment of death. That's all. With understanding or with ignorance and more ignorance, or a little more understanding, parami, to understand the truth, to have confidence of the truth, to have virya, to listen and consider carefully, conform with Dhamma or Dhammas, anatta, and so on. Little by little, this is the way it is. So now, listen more, understand, even a little bit more. At moment of understanding, there's no ignorance, but it's not clear, it's not strong enough to let go the clinging to life. It has to be by conditions. Just understand the truth. And at that moment, it let go wrong understanding and ignorance until there's more understanding, seeing more truth, the danger of that which just arises and falls away, never to return. Little by little, who knows now, Panya develops. Understanding what's meant by nimitta, and understanding more and more, no doubt about what is meant by nimitta. and begin to realize the truth. What is there is just only a moment and then gone. And what is experienced is only the nimitta of realities which arise and fall away in split seconds. What is known in life is only through 6 ways, not more than that. It has to be one of the 6 ways, and then gone, never to appear again. And this is enrooted little by little until it's firm enough to understand whatever moment is there. There can be the understanding of that moment, beginning to just think about it and then directly aware of it with a little more understanding of it, little by little, by conditions. And by conditions is the only way to let go ignorance and attachment. Otherwise, it is covered up. No way for right understanding to develop. So wrong understanding, wrong practice hinder the path, not being able to understand the truth at all. Because the I is there. Wrong understanding and ignorance. That's why listen to the teach of the Buddha about the truth of each reality, one by one, a little more, a little more, a little more. Until it conditioned moment of understanding what is there in life, stage by stage. Consider it, thinking about it, understanding it, what is there. Even it's not directly aware of the characteristic as not self, but it was the beginning not to forget, just there and then gone. Just consider whether it's true or not. To have satya of the truth. What is true is true. No one is no one.
Ajahn, I have a question about nimitta of citta, but I think we've run out of time. I never thought about nimitta of citta because with these talks we've been having about nimitta, I've always just thought it was the objects of seeing, hearing, tasting, but I know that there is nimitta of every reality, but nimitta of citta is, it's quite hard to even imagine what that is.
Does citta arise and fall away?
Yes, citta does.
Very quickly or slowly?
Very much quicker than rupa, so very quickly.
Now, does it arise?
Yes, it's arising and falling.
So
now.
What appears now as citta, which does not arise and fall away, so it's the nimitta of that which experiences from birth to death, morning to night, any time is there, unknown. What is known is the object that it experienced.
Right, yes, I think that's what I've been thinking about.
And when we learned about the process, we can understand that it has to be nimitta, because one citta cannot be known by way of the arising of and falling away.
Zita, I think you appreciate that anything that is known, it cannot be just one moment that's known. So if Vedana is known, if seeing is known, if visible object we're talking about, you were thinking that we only meant visible object and sound and all that. But in a day, there is knowing Vedana, there is knowing anger, there is knowing attachment. I mean, with ignorance or without, or with panya. So with the discussion about nimitta is saying that that which is known, all this that's known is what's known actually is the nimitta of all those realities, because one single instance cannot be known.
What we've been saying about the nimitta of visible object or nimitta of hardness is just the same for nimitta of chitta or nimitta of Vedana or nimitta of sanya. Any reality can only be known by way of nimitta, just the same.
Yeah, well, my thought was the jitta, as Achan's pointed out, the jittas arise and fall away much faster than rupas. So, but even rupas can't be known as just, you know,
single one. It's just the same, yes.
Yeah,
like
okay.
Nina's question at the beginning about the seeing, it's the same reality which has to be known, but it can only be known by way of nimitta as just that reality which sees. I think we better continue next time. We can continue with this topic. So everyone, please remember, next week on Sunday, not Saturday.
Yes, and this Monday there's no Zoom. Is that right?
Yeah, this Monday no Zoom.
No Zoom.
No
Okay,
Zoom,
thank
right.
you. Okay. Thank you, Achan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn.